Hello everyone, I welcome you all back to my channel Infotainment, and in this video let us learn what is meant by bit stuffing and character stuffing in the case of computer networks. Let us go through the contents of the PPT, wherein I will be going through the introduction of stuffing, types of stuffing, etc., and tasks performed, followed by the C program and then the result. So let us define what is meant by the stuffing. Stuffing is all meant by adding the data to the message sequence in order to ensure that the communication is proper and there is no hassle in the process. So let us see how do I do it. That is through different kinds of stuffing. There are many kinds of stuffings like bit stuffing, byte stuffing, and character stuffing. So what is bit stuffing is a process of inserting an extra bit as 0 once the frame sequence encountered 5 consecutive ones. Why am I doing it? Because I am making sure that the receiver does not mistake this sequence of ones in the message to be the end of the message sequence. I add a set of 8 characters or 8 bit at the starting and ending of the frame, and they are called as delimiters. These delimiters help in identifying the starting and ending of the frame. What is a frame is the data along with the controlled information. What is a frame is the data along with the controlled information is called as a frame, and the format depends on the transmission method, that is, it can be bit or byte or character stuffing. Next, why should we do the process of stuffing? As mentioned earlier, in case the receiver is not calibrated and it loses its calibration in between the message, then it can know the starting and ending of the message by looking at these control information or the flag which is present at starting and ending of the message, that is frame. Fine. Now let us see what are the advantages of bit stuffing. Bit stuffing is used in order to synchronize several channels before multiplexing. It also is used to rate match two single channels to each other and also run length limited coding. Now, do we have only advantages? No, there are disadvantages too. So, the disadvantages are the code rate is unpredictable and it is dependent on the data which is being transmitted. Now, let us see the tasks in bit stuffing. First, I take the input bits, then I check for 5 consecutive ones. If found, if not found, what to do? Let's see. If found, then I will shift the bits after 5th one to the right so that I get one empty location where I stuff 0, and then I proceed checking for the succeeding bits, and once I'm done with the entire array of bits, then I'm good to transmit. If not found, then I just proceed checking the succeeding bits. Okay, fine. What are the tasks performed in character stuffing are the input string is taken, then I prefix it to DLE-STX, that is data link escape sequence start, which would indicate the start of the frame, and followed by the check for DLE characters will be in progress. Then if found, I will append DLE. Okay, then I will check for the succeeding characters. If not found, I just go with checking the succeeding characters. Okay, then at the end I would be adding DLE ETX, which would indicate the end of the phrase. Now let us see the program which can perform the bit shifting. So I just say gedit p7.c. So let us start by including the header file. I would be adding hash include stdio.h because I would be using the uh, printf and scanf, hence I would be using this. Then the main function and the return type would be int. You can use void also, not an issue because we are anyways not returning any value. Okay, so I would need one array which is used to store the bits entered by the user, and I need few variables to traverse through this array and also to store the length of the bits which will be entered by the user, followed by a position to where 0 is to be included, and also a variable to count the number of ones. So both of this I would be assigning with 0, that is I will do the initialization process. And once I'm done with this, let us consider taking the input of the number of bits to be entered. Enter the number of bits. Okay, so now once the user enters, I will be using scanf in order to read the input. So %d, which is a format specifier, comma ampersand n. Okay, then once I'm done with this, the next step is to take up the bits which will be entered by the user. So for which I will display the message, okay, to enter the bits. Fine. Now what I will do is enter. Instead of this, I will display the number which is entered by the user. So I'll just say comma and n, which is the variable where the data is stored. And now I would put a of I over here. Okay, and since multiple number of bits will be entered, I would put it in a for loop. For I is equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Okay, fine. Once I'm done with this, the next step is to perform the process of bit shifting. So I again need to traverse through the array, hence I put for I is equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Now my task over here is to, okay, my task over here is to check if 5 ones are there in the sequence or not. So if a of I is equal to 1, if a of I is equal to 1, then in this case what I need to do is I need to increment the count of 1. So once I'm done with this, I also need to ensure that if c is equal to 5, then I have to enter 0. So I would be checking that by putting if c is equal to 5. Once I'm done with this, okay, now what I will be doing is I would wish to add 0 to that particular bit, but the issue is if I add 0 to that bit now itself, I would be losing the data present in that bit. So therefore, to avoid it, I would be shifting the data to the right by one position, for which I will put one for loop for j is equal to n, which indicates the last location, okay, which indicates the last location. If for j is equal to n, j greater than or equal to the position where I am entering 0, j minus minus, because I wish to decrement j. Before doing this, I will also wish to update the value of pos, that is pos is equal to I plus 1, where the 0 actually gets is to be entered. Since the 5 ones are detected, I would reset the value of count to 0. Okay, fine. Now the next step is to perform the process of shifting, which will be a of j plus 1 is equal to a of j. What will this do is the content of a of j would be moved to a of j plus 1, that is the next location. Okay, so at the end of the for loop, I would be having one vacant location where I can successfully enter 0. So therefore what I will do now is a of pos is equal to 0. Fine. Once I'm done with this, since I have added a bit, the length of the sequence is increased by 1, so hence n plus is equal to 1, which will increment the value of n. Now, once this is over, what I'm supposed to do is, I have to also ensure that I'm not counting the total number of ones in the entered data to be 5. I want the ones to be 5 times, provided they are consecutive. Only if they are consecutive, then only I have to perform the process of stuffing. Otherwise, I shouldn't perform the process of stuffing 0. Hence, in case the if condition fails any time in between, I will say c is equal to 0. That is, I am resetting. Okay, so once I'm done with this, I'm done with the process of stuffing. Now the last step is to display the data. Printf, what I will do is slash n data after stuffing. Okay, so the data after stuffing would be like this. Okay, so now I would again put a for loop in order to show the data. So I will just use the same for loop but with few modifications. That is, I just change this to printf, and that's all. I'm good to go. Now let us see what is the received set or the received frame at the receiver's end. So here what you need to do is, always the purpose of putting the 0 after the fifth one is because to ensure the receiver does not mistake this sequence to be the delimiting sequence. Okay, that is, we use 6 ones followed by a 0 indicate the starting and ending of the frame. Hence, in order to avoid this confusion or ambiguity, I am doing the process of stuffing. So now let us add the starting and ending flag bits. Okay, so the data transmitted will be in this format. Okay, so what I will do is printf slash n data would be 0 double 1 double 1 double 1 0. Okay, then the same thing would be suffixed over here as well. Okay, fine. So there you go. We are done with it. Now let us compile the program, that is gcc p7.c followed by, let us run the program dot slash a dot out. Fine, the number of bits is 5. Now the sequence would be fine. Now as you can see, the 0 is added or stuffed at the end of the string because 5 ones were there. Now let us give another try and see if the program works fine. That is, if the bits are not stuffed if the 5 ones are not found. 1 0 1 0 1 0. Fine. Here, as you can see, when the 6 bits are given and 5 ones are not found consecutively, I can find that 0 is not getting stuffed. Now, let us look into character stuffing. Gedit p7 c.c. Fine. Now, let us look into the program. Let us start by including the header file. So hash include stdio.h. Reason I'm having this is because I use the standard input output functions, that is printf and scanf, and therefore I need this. Then in this program I wish to include hash include ctype.h. Why I'm doing this? I will tell you when the particular function belonging to this header file I use in the program. Now let us move ahead and define the main function. Int main. The return type can be void as well. It's up to you to decide the return type. So char here I will be using 3 character arrays. One to store the user data, the second to store the data which will be transmitted, and the third to show the data which will be received at the receiver. C of 50, comma D of 50, comma T of 50. Okay. Fine. My next task is to declare few integer variables which is necessary for me to traverse through the arrays and also to know the size of the array which the user is going to enter. Fine. Next. Now let us consider taking the inputs. Printf okay. Now I wish to read the entered data. So scanf, the format specifier is %d, comma ampersand m. Why ampersand is because the address of it is fetched and hence the data is stored there. Next, once we know the number of characters, now we can take the characters. Now, let us try to display the number which the user enters over here. So I say enter %d, then I write comma m over here so that the number entered by the user is displayed. Now, since multiple characters are to be read, I wish to put this scanf in a for loop. So I would store it in the array C of I, fine, and it is %C, okay. Printf Now the for loop would be for I is equal to 0, I less than m, I plus plus. Here, one thing we need to know is, in the case of character array, the end of the character array would always be with a null character, that is slash o, which indicates the end of the string or the character array. Hence, we always need to take the input until less than or equal to m, that is in total m plus 1 terms. Fine. After that, the next task would be to proceed with character stuffing. Hence, I would add the delimiters at the starting. DLESTX stands for Data Link Escape Sequence Start. Fine. Now, let me add it. D of 0 is equal to D and replicate it for 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fine. Now, what I will do is, I'll make this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Fine. Now, DLE STX. Okay, fine. Now I'm done. Now after this, we have to check whether I have DLE in the input sequence, and I have to accordingly update the string which will be transmitted. So I'll put a for loop because I need to traverse through the entire character array. Hence, for I is equal to 0, okay, I less than m, less than or equal to m, I plus plus. Now over here, I will put another variable, that is j, which starts from 6 and the count goes on up to the value, that is m plus 6. Okay, so I'm not including it because my priority is to go until the end of the input sequence. Okay, now what I need to check is if c of I is equal to d. Okay, then double ampersand if c of I plus 1 is L, double ampersand c of I plus 2 is E. Fine. Now, if this is the case, then what should be done is very simple. I just need to put d of j. Let me just copy this. Okay. So this is d, this is j, and okay. So this is d and this is j, and I have a thing over here. Fine. So now I have my sequence with the DLE in case we find already one DLE in the input sequence, so that the receiver does not mistake that DLE in the input sequence to be the end of the frame. Okay. Now that we have added 3 characters, we know the length of the frame would be increased by 3. Hence, I will increment the size of m by 3. Okay, fine. Once we are done with this incrementing, now let us do the actual job. That is, d of j is equal to c of I. Okay, fine. Now, after this, what to do is to increment the value of m again by 6, because I have added 6 characters over here, correct? Hence, I am incrementing it here. Now, let us see why did I include the header file ctype.h. Is because in case the letter is small, then the program fails. So, to avoid this loophole, I have used the toUpper function, which will convert the character present in C of I to uppercase in case it is present in the lower case. Fine. Now, my next task would be to add the ending delimiter. So therefore, I'll just say m plus plus, okay, and then d of m is equal to so I need to add it over here, 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 and here. Fine. M, okay, I just add it just to DLE ETX. Fine. Now, once we are done with this, our next job is to display the data. Fine. Now, once we are done with this, our next job is to display the data. So, let us try displaying the data now. Now, I'll just put a statement printf /n transmitted data, okay, /n now. Since I need to traverse through the array, I am using a for loop. I'll just copy the same and I'll change printf to, I'll change the scanf to printf and let this be the same, and the array is d array. Fine. So that's all, and it looks after the job of printing the data to be transmitted. After this, my next job would be to display the data at the receiver's end. So now I'll put one more for loop. Before that, let me put a statement printf data received for I is equal to 0, comma, j is equal to 6. The reason why I am taking two variables is because I wish to point to the starting of the array, that is T, where I am going to store the data which is actually sent by the user, and the value of j is equal to 6 because I wish to skip the starting delimiting characters which indicate the starting of the frame. Fine. Now I want all the way to be going up to j less than m minus 6, followed by I plus plus and j plus plus. Okay, fine. Now if this is the case, then what should be done is, here I need to ensure that the DLE whatever I had stuffed over here has to be removed, correct? Hence what I will do is, I'll just copy this and I will alter this functionality, and I'll say if the DLE is found twice, then in that case increment j by 3, so that I would be skipping one of the DLEs. That is, the DLE at the starting would be skipped and the remaining three characters would be considered as the input. Fine. Now, so I would say T of I is equal to D of J. Okay, fine. So let me alter the condition over here. Since I need to check if DLE is present twice or not, what I will do over here is, I will just say double ampersand control V, and then over here plus 3, and here it is plus 4, and this plus 5. Okay, then fine. Now let us display the data. Percentage %c, comma, T of I. There you go. You are done with the program. Now let us see, compile it and execute. Now let us run the program. So I wish to compile it before that, gcc p7c.c, and then execute it ./a.out. Okay, so now the number of characters is 6 and they are handled. As you can see over here, the transmitted data is DLE that is the starting delimiting character, that is data link escape sequence start, and so followed by the message which is stuffed with DLE, and then we have DLE ETX. Okay, then over here you can see that data received is candle with the stuffed data and the starting and ending delimiters removed. Okay, now let us see whether it works when I give the capital letters or not. So enter the same word, candle. So as you can see, it is successfully working for both the small letters, that is the lowercase letters, and the capital letters as well. If you have any questions, you can always comment down below so that it could be answered, and Thank you for patient listening.